The harsh glare of your phone screen lights up the dark room. It is past midnight, and you are staring at a blinking cursor. You type a message. "I am so sorry, I really cannot do it because..." Then you stop. You hit backspace. You type it again. This time, you add a little laugh, hoping it softens the blow. You build an entire paragraph of excuses, detailing your tight schedule and your circumstances, terrified that the person on the other end might be disappointed in you. Tell me, have you ever felt like a defense attorney, exhausting yourself just to fight for your own right to rest? It is an invisible, heavy burden. The quiet, daily fatigue of constantly draining your own life force just to buy temporary approval from everyone else. We tell ourselves a very convincing lie. We say that giving a long and detailed explanation is simply being polite. We believe that if we lay out every single reason, if we show them exactly how exhausted or busy we are, the other person will empathize. We convince ourselves that our over-explaining is a pure act of kindness and mutual respect. But let us step back and call this behavior what it really is. It is not kindness. It is a deep-rooted symptom of people-pleasing. It is the toxic and exhausting habit of over-explaining. Here is the harsh and uncomfortable reality. When you offer a laundry list of excuses for saying no, you are not protecting your boundaries at all. You are actually doing the exact opposite. By providing all those reasons, you are stepping out of the role of a self-assured adult and shrinking back into the role of a student asking a teacher for permission. You are turning a simple personal decision into a formal application. And worst of all, you are handing the other person the authority to either approve or reject your right to say no. Because when you give reasons, you invite negotiations. If your excuse is not solid enough in their eyes, they will simply find a way to override it. Where does this deep and almost desperate need to explain ourselves actually come from? We have to rewind the clock and look closely at how we were raised. Many of us grew up in environments where being compliant was treated as the exact same thing as being good. From a very young age, we were implicitly taught that absolute obedience was the currency we had to pay to receive love and safety and affection. If you were easygoing and agreeable, you were a good kid. But the moment you tried to stand your ground and simply said no, you were immediately labeled as stubborn or difficult or dangerously selfish. Over time, you internalized a very painful lesson. You learned that having personal boundaries was somehow offensive to the people around you. In the realm of psychology, this endless cycle of over-explaining is often recognized as a trauma response. Specifically, it falls under the fawning response. Fawning is a deep psychological survival mechanism where you automatically try to appease and please someone to avoid any potential conflict or rejection. When you frantically list out 12 different reasons for why you cannot attend a dinner or help with a project, you are not just communicating a scheduling conflict. You are speaking from a very old and very deep fear. It is the lingering fear of being abandoned, judged, or emotionally punished if you do not present a perfectly valid excuse for your own feelings. You carried that terrified inner child right into your adult friendships and workplaces. Understanding where this pattern comes from is incredibly validating. Acknowledging your past wounds is the essential first step toward healing them. However, knowing the origin of your pain will not magically stop your phone from ringing tomorrow with yet another unreasonable demand. To actually change how the world treats you starting today, psychological insight is simply not enough. You need a practical and immediate tool to slam the brakes on this exhausting habit. You need to learn how to forge an iron boundary. And that brings us to the most uncomfortable but powerful step you will ever take. Let us look at the mechanics of a typical refusal. Think about what happens when you give someone a specific reason for saying no. You tell your coworker that you cannot take on their extra project this weekend because you already have a family dinner planned. What did you just do? You did not set a boundary. You handed them a negotiation puzzle to solve. They will immediately look for a loophole. They will say, "Oh, that is perfectly fine. You can just do the work on Sunday morning before your dinner." Or they might say, "Well, just do half of it now and finish the rest next week." The more details you provide, the more ammunition you give the other person to dismantle your logic. Every excuse is a weak point in your armor. You are offering them leverage to convince you otherwise. There is a highly effective concept in psychology and behavioral therapy designed specifically to stop this toxic dynamic. It is called the Do Not JADE technique. JADE is an acronym that stands for Justify, Argue, Defend, and Explain. When you are establishing a boundary, you must consciously stop doing all four of those things. Do not justify your choices to someone who is not entitled to them. Do not argue about whose needs are more important. Do not defend your character against their guilt trips. And absolutely, do not explain your personal circumstances. So what do you do instead? This brings us to the core action of this entire video. This is the one powerful thing you must try. You are going to practice what we call a neutral rejection. The next time someone asks you for a favor that drains you or extends an invitation you do not want to accept, you will deliver a firm, polite, and complete sentence that contains absolutely zero conditions. You will say, "I am not able to take this on right now." Or you will say, "That does not fit into my current schedule." Notice what is deliberately missing from those sentences. The word because. There is no because. There is no due to the fact that. You simply state the reality of your availability. And then you must do the hardest part of all. You must embrace the silence. You deliver your neutral rejection, and then you stop talking. This is where the psychological shift actually happens. We call this the awkward silence effect. Human beings are deeply uncomfortable with dead air in a conversation. When you drop a firm boundary and just let the silence hang there, the social pressure immediately shifts away from you and lands squarely on their shoulders. The silence becomes a heavy physical weight in the room. To fill that deeply uncomfortable void, they will usually scramble to start talking. They will start negotiating with themselves. They might even stumble and provide an excuse for you. You do not have to fight. You just have to hold the line of silence. Your quiet composure sends a massive unspoken message. It tells them that your decision has intrinsic value. It stands on its own, and it absolutely does not require their permission to exist. This is the scarcity principle applied to human relationships. In any market, things that are rare are highly valuable. If your time and energy are constantly available, constantly accommodating, and constantly given away for free, your value plummets. You become emotionally cheap. But your time and your agreement are your most precious assets. When you guard them fiercely, people unconsciously realize they have to earn their access to you. When you stop giving away your yes so easily, people will inevitably start treating you with a profoundly different level of respect. There is a profound and painful paradox in human relationships. We are taught that endless sacrifice will earn us unconditional love and loyalty. But the reality is entirely different. A lack of boundaries does not attract love. It attracts takers. It draws in people who are looking for someone to carry their emotional or physical workload. On the flip side, a calm and immovable boundary might feel cold at first, but it is the only thing that builds durable, genuine respect. When you first start doing this, you need to be prepared for the fallout. Psychologists call this the boundary backlash. The moment you stop over-explaining and start holding your silence, The system around you will experience a shock. The people who have been comfortably benefiting from your endless compliance are going to feel very uncomfortable. They will likely be confused. They might get angry. They will almost certainly try to guilt-trip you. They might even call you selfish or say that you have changed for the worse. You have to understand that their anger is not proof that you did something wrong. Their anger is just a temper tantrum because they can no longer access your energy for free. This is the emotional cost of taking your power back. It is going to feel messy and incredibly difficult. You might even lose a few connections in the process. But let those people walk away. This backlash is a necessary purge. It acts as a filter, sweeping away the toxic and parasitic relationships in your life. What you are left with on the other side are the people who value you for who you are, and not just for what you can do for them. A loud, anxious voice in your head is probably screaming right now, "But what if they hate me for doing this? What if they think I am a terrible person?" Let us address that deeply ingrained fear directly. They might not like your refusal. In fact, they probably will not, but they will be forced to respect it. And here is a vital truth about navigating the adult world. Genuine respect is far safer and much more sustainable than superficial likability. Being liked simply because you are endlessly useful is not real affection. It is just convenience. To truly understand this shift picture, the physical difference between these two states of being. Think about the physical posture of a person with no boundaries. They are physically shrinking. Their eyes constantly dart away, afraid to make contact. Their shoulders are hunched inward. Their sentences are packed with filler words and nervous, apologetic laughter. Their entire physical presence is a walking apology for simply existing and taking up space. Now picture the posture of someone who protects their boundaries. They are grounded. They maintain direct, steady eye contact. Their breathing is calm, and their physical body is completely still. They are unfailingly polite, yet entirely firm. They do not shrink down to make other people feel more comfortable. They simply hold their ground and politely wait for the world to adjust to them. True power does not come from proving your worth over and over again. It is born quietly within a person who knows exactly where they stand and requires absolutely no external validation to exist. Sometime tonight, or maybe tomorrow, you will inevitably find yourself holding your phone. You will be staring at that familiar harsh glare, typing out another massive paragraph of apologies and complicated excuses. When that moment comes, I want you to stop. Take a deep breath and delete every single word. Type out one short, polite, and completely neutral refusal. Hit send. Then physically turn off the screen. Step away from the device and calmly allow their temporary confusion to slowly transform into deep and permanent respect. The choice is yours. Are you finally ready to walk through a few moments of temporary discomfort to reclaim your absolute freedom for the rest of your life?